Has Xi Jinping's hidden role in U.S. Iran talks finally been revealed, with Beijing quietly opening backchannels and nudging Tehran toward negotiations with Washington? Was Xi Jinping's pressure and fear of potential escalation from China the real reason behind Trump's U-turn on Iran strikes? While Pakistan acted as the visible mediator, was China quietly steering key phases of the U.S.-Iran talks to protect its own energy and trade interests? An Iranian envoy, Abdolreza Rahmani Fazli, said on May 19 that China helped open back-channel contacts for talks between the United States and Iran. Fazli stated that China and Pakistan both worked behind the scenes to ease tensions between Washington and Tehran. According to him, Beijing opposed what it described as U.S. tension-making activities in the Strait of Hormuz. He added that China criticized the United States for disrupting global trade and said Beijing wanted to help secure shipping routes through the strait. These comments come as the Strait of Hormuz crisis continues to directly affect China's economic interests, including energy and trade flows. U.S. President Donald Trump was expected to discuss the Iran situation with Chinese President Xi Jinping during his recent visit to China. Donald Trump arrived in Beijing hoping China could help the United States address tensions with Iran and the growing crisis around passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Expectations were high that Xi Jinping might use Beijing's leverage over Tehran to push Iran toward accepting U.S. terms or at least to reduce actions that threaten commercial shipping through Hormuz. However, post-meeting readouts from both Washington and Beijing suggested the talks did not produce a meaningful shift in China's position on Iran or a clear new commitment to U.S. demands. China remains one of Iran's closest diplomatic partners and its largest oil customer, giving Beijing economic and strategic reasons to avoid measures that could be seen as directly confronting Tehran. After his first round of talks with Xi, Trump publicly claimed the Chinese leader offered to help resolve the conflict, framing the visit as potentially productive on the Iran question. Later, Secretary of State Marco Rubio told NBC that, according to his account, the United States had not formally asked China to provide specific assistance, complicating the administration's messaging. The White House said both sides agreed the Strait of Hormuz must remain open and that Iran should not acquire nuclear weapons, presenting those points as common ground from the meetings. However, China's statement about keeping Hormuz open could also be read as including opposition to external measures such as a U.S. blockade, leaving room for differing interpretations. She reportedly opposed any militarization of the strait or the imposition of tolls on shipping, emphasizing Beijing's preference for freedom of navigation without added security measures. Despite the talks, Beijing appeared to stick to its existing position on the conflict, reiterating long-standing principles without signaling a change in policy toward Iran. China had earlier called for normal passage through the Strait of Hormuz, language that emphasizes commercial transit but does not equate to taking sides in regional coercion. Notably, China's foreign ministry readout made no mention of support for shipping tolls or enforcement measures that would back a U.S. blockade, indicating caution in its public posture. Trump himself acknowledged limits to Xi's influence over Iran, noting in comments that the Chinese leader was unlikely to apply forceful pressure on Tehran. "He's not coming in with guns," Trump said when asked whether she could compel Iran to change course, underlining an understanding of Beijing's constraints. Hours later, China's foreign ministry reiterated that Beijing's position is very clear, signaling continuity and an unwillingness to adopt dramatic new steps for Washington. That statement strongly suggested China had no plans to alter its stance at Washington's behest, reinforcing perceptions of diplomatic distance on the Iran issue. The developments fueled speculation that China had effectively snubbed U.S. expectations by offering vague support for open navigation, but stopping short of concrete action against Iran. All this unfolded even before Trump's high-stakes Beijing visit had officially concluded, leaving key questions about the trip's impact on Iran and Hormuz unresolved.
This has been an incredible visit. I think a lot of good has come of it. We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly, become really a friend. We've known each other now 11 years, almost 12 years, it's a long time. And we've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to settle. And the relationship is a very strong one. We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. They closed it, and we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open. and we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing. They're a little bit crazy, and that's no good. Can't have it. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
An Iranian lawmaker has reportedly proposed a new kind of annual fee linked to infrastructure running through the Strait of Hormuz, specifically targeting undersea data links rather than shipping. He said that countries using fiber optic cables laid across the strait should pay Iran yearly fees, arguing that these lines cross through an area under Iranian control. According to his comments, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of financial transactions flow through these cables every day, making them a lucrative potential revenue source. The lawmaker described the Strait of Hormuz as a treasure, comparing it to other natural resources, mines, and reserves that he said are at Iran's disposal to manage and monetize. His remarks came just days after reports suggested that Iran is seeking greater control over undersea cables in the Hormuz area, raising concerns about both economic leverage and data security. Iran is said to be mulling full control over all 7 undersea internet cables in the Hormuz corridor, according to reports citing IRGC-linked media discussions. Tehran appears to be exploring a revenue model built around permits and toll payments for cable operators using the strategic waterway. Indian media reported the claim on May 10th, citing a post attributed to Iran's fast news agency and related IRGC-linked messaging.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.